G'day, I'm releasing this video just prior to the release of Season 5 of Drive to Survive, and the F1 world is pretty excited to see what will be in this year's edition. This series has done wonders for the sport. It's been a masterstroke in terms of publicity. It's fired up huge support in the US and around the world. How does it work? What goes on at the track? Well, I get to see quite a bit of it, and today I'm going to share some of that information with you in 8 seconds time. Let me quickly step you through how this series came about. In 2017, Sean Bratches joined Formula One. He's an ex-ESPN executive. He was there for 2 years, from 2017 to 19. And one of the greatest things he ever did was introduce this series. He understood the power of such a documentary series, which has given unprecedented access to the world of Formula One. So what was this series designed to do? Introduce more people to the sport, fire up the enthusiasm amongst existing fans, and to show people what Bernie Ecclestone, the previous owner of Formula One, was always reticent about doing, and that's taking people behind the scenes into the garages, into the engineering room, into the paddock. Has it worked? Oh, it's worked all right. Just have a look at the paddocks these days. Now, post-COVID, we can't move at some of these races. Yes, the drivers have become perhaps more celebrities than they were previously. We've got team principals who are now sharing the limelight, and we can expect even more interest in the sport once this new Series 5 airs. So how does it all work? Well, all of this vision was shot in 2022. It started off with pre-season testing in Bahrain, where on the track, all of the drivers came out with their cars and they present for an exclusive Netflix-only shoot. The cars are all perfectly positioned, as are the drivers. The Drive to Survive crews go about getting all their vision. In the background, yes, there's lots of photographers shooting what's going on, but with long lenses. No one's allowed behind the shot. That's all kept nice and clean. And this will normally happen on the first morning of testing. The series is produced by Box to Box Films. They've gone on to do other sports documentaries on tennis and golf, but this is certainly the one that has got them the most attention. So who pays who here? Well, as the way I understand it is Netflix pays F1 a fee, and then the F1 splits that money amongst the teams. If you've been to an F1 paddock, you've probably seen some of the box-to-box crew walking around. Now, sometimes they'll be in team shirts. Why is that? Well, that dated back to COVID times when the crews were told they could only stay with one team for the entire 4-day event. Hence, they had to wear the team clothing. They couldn't travel outside that bubble. Now, that still went on last year with crews wearing Alfa Romeo kit one week and then next week rolling up in Ferrari, which I guess is a great way. If you're working in those crews, you've got yourself quite a nice wardrobe of F1 gear. What is a crew? Typically, it'll be a cameraman or a woman, an audio guy, I haven't seen a female there, and a producer. The producer's role is to find out what's going on, to work out what the stories are at the track that day, and make sure that the camo and the audio person are on site to capture that action. The crews stand out from, say, normal F1 TV people or television networks because they will have an audio engineer. Let's talk audio for a second because it is a very important part of the project. This gentleman here is holding a boom microphone and it will hang over the top of a driver or team principal's head, and that audio operator will walk with the driver or the team principal picking up the audio. Sometimes though, they go and put a radio mic on the talent, which is fantastic because they don't have to get as intimate, and occasionally the person with the microphone on forgets it's on and you get some real juicy bits. But of course, sometimes drivers don't want to be overheard. In case in point here, back in 2021 at Qatar, I was photographing Pierre Gasly and Antonio Giovinazzi when Pierre swatted the microphone away. And I've seen that happen on numerous occasions. No one takes offense, and the audio operator normally gets the message. Oh, and on the subject of audio, when you're watching episodes that have crashes in them, you might pick up the fact that they've gone and sweetened the sound with big bangs and crashes behind the action that you don't hear when you're watching this on the TV broadcast. It's worth considering too that these crews are out there for 4 days over a typical race weekend and shoot a lot of vision that ends up on the cutting room floor. But that's to be understood when it comes to filming a documentary series like this. Is it a documentary or is it a dramatised documentary? Well, yes, the job of the producers is to find a storyline and then play it up. And they have been accused in the past of over-ramping things. But in general, I think it does a great job in taking you and me behind the scenes, because I get some very good access, but it's nothing like the access that the DTS crews get. If you follow me on Instagram or you're a subscriber to my channel, you'll probably know that I spend a fair amount of time out in the car parks, especially on the first day or two, photographing drivers as they come in. And that's often where I'll see the Netflix crews. And to be perfectly blunt, I'll often share information with the crews because we all want to know what time a driver's in or where they're coming in so we don't waste our time. They'll know certain things, I'll know certain things, and we'll often trade them off against each other. Do they ever get into the driver's dressing room at the track? I've never seen any vision from there. I've been in a couple of times to document some stuff that was going on, but no, I don't think they get that access. But pretty much everything is open to them. Do they go out and shoot on track? No. Well, they don't need to because they have automatic access to all F1's race vision. That leaves them free to spend their time in the paddock, focusing on the human element of the sport, which is the thing that draws you into the series. In each series, there are 10 episodes of roughly 40 minutes duration. Each one of those episodes has its own producer, and those producers meet regularly to make sure that they're not doubling up on content that another episode might include. The teams have the right to say, no, we don't want that going to air. Well, the way I understand it is they can certainly ask, and it would be prudent of the producer of the series to say, yes, I won't put that in if it's offensive, but I believe they have absolute right to do whatever they want. However, if you went and got a team offside, I don't think that would help your chances of any cooperation with them. And of course, as you know, in 2021, Max Verstappen said, no, I'm not talking to any of the crew anymore. But that changed last year and he was happy to chat with them. Where are those interviews done? Well, most of the time they're done at hotels away from the track. And what about the commentary you hear on those shows? Well, about 25% of that is done post-event. The likes of Jack Nicholls and Ben Edwards is dubbed over at a later date. The David Croft and Martin Brundle stuff, well, that is taken live from the broadcast.
Through goes Hamilton!
And the end result is a series that has definitely captured the world's attention. Let's have a look at the stats. In 2019, ESPN was averaging about 500,000 viewers per race. NASCAR was 3 million and Indy 500 4 million. In 2022, 3 years later, that figure had more than doubled. There are 3 races in the US now. No other country has 3 races. And ESPN has gone from paying $5 million a year to a reported $75 to $90 million a year. Season 4 of Drive to Survive was the most watched series in 33 countries, including the US. And in Austin last year, when people were surveyed at the track of why they were there, more than a third of them said Drive to Survive. The access that these crews have in F1 is quite astounding. They're privy to some very important and confidential information. They need to be very careful about what they say and to whom, given the amounts of money involved in this sport. If you're considering booking a one-way fare, pay close attention. October 12, if you wanted to go from Mexico City to Sao Paulo, Aeromexico would charge you $8,100 one way. How much extra would it be to go return? Nearly half the price for 2 legs? But wait, if you go to Aeromexico's site and you book your October 12 flight to Sao Paulo in business, and your return flight in economy, knowing full well that you'll throw away that ticket and won't use the second half, it gets even cheaper. Now that doesn't happen all the time, but in the odd instances it does, it's worth investigating. And why is it that this series is put to air in one big lump come the start of the next season? Well, partially that's to do with the broadcast rights. Sky and the other big players around the world pay enormous fees to broadcast this sport, and they don't want Drive to Survive, who often has better access, trumping them with content on the race weekend. So all of the episodes are released in one hit on Netflix at the start of the next season. What do sponsors think of this? Well, they love it. Their logos are exposed to a whole new audience. And in turn, the teams love it because they get to charge more for that signage on the car because they can say, hey, you're now going to get this new audience watching that you never got prior to the first series airing. I'll tell you one thing, many of the drivers are now full-on celebrities. That's what this sort of television exposure does. And if you look at something like the NFL, where there are 1,700 players, in F1, there are 20. So that attention is keenly focused on those 20 drivers and a handful of team principals. With Gunther Steiner obviously being the most popular, he has achieved star status through his colourful language and his on-screen presence.
Gene, we finished 4th and 5th here. We look like rock stars, huh? And now we are bunch of wanko.
That's one of the reasons I did a signed print collaboration with Gunter last year. He signed 50 of these prints, which are available at kimillman.com. Click on the signed print page, pick the number that you want, and that'll be delivered to you, along with a digital image of him signing your print as irrefutable proof of authenticity. As a follow-on to Drive to Survive, there are 2 new film projects taking place this year at Formula One. One is produced by Keanu Reeves. He's shooting a 4-part documentary about Ross Brawn's takeover of the Honda team for $1 back in 2009. That'll appear on Disney+. But perhaps the bigger project, the one that everyone will be excited about, is Brad Pitt and Jerry Bruckheimer teaming up to produce a fictional F1 movie this year. Lewis has put some money in. I believe all drivers will appear in it, and they'll be filming at the tracks during the second half of 2023. So expect F1 to get an even bigger boost from that sort of exposure. If you're in the paddock during 2023, expect to see more Netflix crew wandering around the place. They'll probably stand out, you know a bit more about them now. And if you happen to be behind the action at any stage, you may sneak into a shot at next year's Drive to Survive Series 6. Oh, and just quickly, could you hit the like button, please? Thank you. And the subscribe and become a member for a whole host of giveaways. In fact, I've got a giveaway coming up before the start of the 2023 season. It's this signed Sergio Perez print. All you have to do is to be a member of my channel. I'll pick one member just prior to the start of the first race of the year, and that person will win this signed print. You can find a range of other signed prints at my website, kimillman.com, along with merchandise, wall art, and F1 photo books. And for my best images live from the track and all during the week, go to Instagram and search @KimIllman. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate. Have a walk with that driver and pick up the audio as they